What happened? Spain refuses to join Board of Peace for Gaza. On January 23, 2026, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez announced that Spain will not participate in a U.S.-led initiative called the Board of Peace intended to guide ceasefire, post-conflict security and reconstruction efforts in Gaza. The Board of Peace was proposed by U.S. President Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum in Davos as a new international mechanism involving multiple countries to oversee peace and reconstruction following the protracted Gaza conflict. Several countries, including Israel, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, have reportedly joined the board. However, Spain has declined to take part. Spain's government explained its decision by stressing a commitment to multilateralism, international law, and the United Nations system, rather than a separate framework that excludes the Palestinian Authority. Sanchez emphasized that Spain believes the future of Palestine must be decided primarily by Israel and Palestinians themselves through dialogue, which he views best achieved via established global institutions rather than a new, separate board. 2. Why Spain rejected the board. Key rationale. 2.1. Commitment to multilateral institutions and the UN. Spain's official statement is rooted in diplomacy. The government says it supports a rules-based international order and prefers peace processes anchored in United Nations mechanisms and international law, rather than new ad hoc bodies created by specific states that could sideline key actors, especially the Palestinian Authority. 2.2. Exclusion of the Palestinian Authority. One clear reason for Spain's refusal is that the proposed board was reported to exclude the Palestinian Authority, the internationally recognized representative of Palestinians, from its leadership structure. Spain stressed that any peace process must include meaningful Palestinian participation, which is central to the legitimacy and success of negotiations. 2.3. Upholding international law. Another core theme in Spain's stance is adherence to international law, particularly the UN Charter and humanitarian legal norms. Spanish leaders have repeatedly said that peace cannot be built on frameworks that fail to respect international obligations towards civilian protection, legal accountability, and self-determination. Principles they argue are better upheld through the UN system. Spain's broader position on Gaza and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. To understand Spain's decision in context, it helps to look at its broader foreign policy posture toward the Gaza conflict and overall Middle East peace efforts. 3.1. Support for ceasefires through international mediation. Earlier in the conflict, Spain welcomed ceasefire agreements negotiated by mediators such as Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S., and supported implementation of those arrangements as steps toward ending hostilities and delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza. Spain also encouraged renewed negotiations toward a permanent cessation of violence and the release of hostages, which it described as essential prerequisites for any lasting peace. 3.2. Advocacy for the two-state solution. Spain has consistently reiterated its backing for a two-state solution, an independent state of Palestine living alongside Israel in peace and security. This approach has been reaffirmed by Spanish officials as the only viable basis for a durable settlement in the Middle East. 3.3. Legal and political pressure on Israel. Spain has taken several assertive diplomatic and policy actions aimed at increasing pressure on Israel over its conduct in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. Arms embargo and measures. In September 2025, the Spanish government announced and later consolidated into law a permanent arms embargo on Israel, banning the sale and purchase of weapons and military equipment, plus expanded restrictions on fuel transports and military transit through Spanish ports and airspace. Ban on entry. Spain also adopted policies to prohibit entry into Spanish territory for individuals allegedly involved in genocide, human rights violations, or war crimes in Gaza. A strong political statement linking individual accountability to its foreign policy stance. Trade and imports. Spain has also banned the import of products originating from Israeli settlements in occupied territories as another form of economic and symbolic leverage. Condemnation of illegal acts. Spain condemned Israeli parliamentary motions favoring annexation of the West Bank, calling them violations of international law and obstacles to peace. These measures place Spain among the most vocal critical European governments regarding Israeli military actions in Gaza and reflect deepening political divergence with allies who have taken more cautious approaches. Humanitarian messaging. Throughout the conflict, Spanish officials expressed concern over humanitarian conditions in Gaza. They have repeatedly called for unimpeded access for aid and protection of civilians, emphasizing obligations under international humanitarian law. This emphasis on human rights and civilian protection under international norms underpins Spain's view that peace efforts must be justice-based, not only ceasefires. 4. International reaction and implications. 4.1. European alignment and divergences. Spain has been pushing for a common EU stance on Gaza peace efforts grounded in international law and human rights. While offering this leadership role, Madrid's decision not to join the U.S.-led board highlights differences among European and transatlantic partners on how best to engage in post-conflict governance and reconstruction. 4.2. Diplomatic tensions. Spain's critical posture, including the arms embargo and travel bans on individuals accused of involvement in violations, has triggered diplomatic friction with Israel. Israeli officials have accused Spain of hostility and anti-Semitism, leading to reciprocal diplomatic gestures like barring Spanish ministers from entering Israel. Spain has firmly rejected such accusations. 4.3. Broader peace process impact. Spain's refusal to join the board has raised questions about the future shape of international peace efforts. Observers see Spain's stance as consistent with a UN-centric peace process rather than fragmented state-led initiatives that might sideline key parties or institutions. Whether this helps or hinders broader peace prospects will depend on evolving negotiations and international cooperation dynamics. 5. Conclusion. Spain's position in summary. Spain's government has not refused peace altogether. It has rejected participation in a specific peace board initiative because it believes peace efforts must be rooted in inclusive, multilateral frameworks that respect international law, ensure Palestinian participation, uphold humanitarian norms, and focus on a genuine two-state solution. At the same time, Spain has adopted some of the most critical diplomatic measures in Europe against Israeli actions in Gaza, combining political pressure with humanitarian advocacy. Its stance reflects a broader foreign policy outlook that stresses justice as central to peace. Not only ceasefires or negotiated settlements